Today we'll be taking a look at some stories with The Undertaker, Liv Morgan, Bryan Danielson, and more. Let's start things off with this Undertaker hotel room situation. Well, this story was first brought to life by Drew McIntyre during his autobiography, A Chosen Destiny. He had this to say: "Early on, maybe in my second or third week on the road, we were in Las Vegas for a show. I walked into the hotel room that the company had booked for me to find myself stepping into the biggest suite of rooms I had ever seen. A vast living room, a couple of bedrooms with a palatial ensuite bathroom, a dining room, full-size kitchen. I thought, oh my goodness, someone's messed up and given me Vince's room or Undertaker's. I was trying to figure out how this mix-up might have arisen and thought I'd nailed it. My name is Galloway. Undertaker's real name is Calloway. Instead of enjoying this gigantic, luxurious suite, I sat in a panic, waiting for Undertaker to beat at the door. Having come from the broom cupboard, he had been misallocated and demanding to know why I was in his room. I spent the whole night worrying that I was in the wrong room. I hardly dared unpack. In retrospect, I wonder if it was a case of Johnny Laurinaitis saying, give him a cool room so he gets a taste of how it could be." So this situation happened right at the start of Drew's first few weeks on the road with WWE. Considering the fact that he was basically a fresh rookie in WWE, Drew was fully convinced that there was a mix-up and that he accidentally stole Undertaker's hotel room, especially with the similar names of Calloway and Galloway. Drew fully convinced himself that's what happened. So he never got comfortable and unpacked. He stayed there basically anticipating for Undertaker to knock on the door and kick this WWE rookie out of his room, but it never happened. Well, Drew recently spoke with Inside the Ropes and was asked about that story and if he ever told Undertaker. I don't think I mentioned it to him. I probably should. I'm sure he'd find that amusing. But yeah, that sucked. I wish I knew what I knew now back then, because I had this lovely, lovely room. It was so gigantic, and it had a dining room and a giant kitchen. And all I did was just sit there, worried, awake all night, because I was like, clearly, there's been a mistake. I thought like, Galloway, Calloway, they've clearly given me the Undertaker's room. And I just sat there, panicking all night. But if I go back now, I totally would have made the most of that room. And I'm definitely telling him that story as well. I have done a couple of impressions to him, which he doesn't find amusing. I've done that to him a few times. I need to tell him that story. So hopefully next time we hear from Drew, he has the story of Undertaker's reaction to that story. As far as things with Drew McIntyre and Undertaker go, they both have some big things coming up for themselves. Undertaker may not be wrestling anymore, but his Netflix special, Escape the Undertaker, will be premiering in a few days, and depending on the success of that short film, it could be a sign of things to come for him. Maybe Undertaker gets more involved with cinematic projects like that for WWE. As far as Drew McIntyre goes, and like we recently discussed, he's rumored to be heading over to Smackdown after October's WWE draft. That will really freshen things up for Drew McIntyre, and fans are highly anticipating another feud between him and Roman Reigns. So we have a lot to look forward to there for sure. Liv Morgan is a fan favorite superstar right now on SmackDown and is quickly on the rise. Liv Morgan had a lot of momentum in 2019, where everyone was making theories about her return. Unfortunately, her return didn't have much story to it. She returned during Lana's wedding. It was a big moment, but the story basically went missing after that first return appearance. She feuded with Lana for a bit, got back together with Ruby Riott, and then just went solo again due to Ruby's WWE release. And from the sounds of things, Liv is finished with the tag team division. She doesn't want to get stuck there again, it seems like. Liv Morgan had this to say when speaking with SportsKeeda. "I feel like the past 2 years of my career, I've had moments where I feel like I've had so much momentum, and I'm just about to break through, and then I don't. I do feel this time is different. I like to think positively, and I'm a very glass half full. So when I look back, I'm like, maybe I wasn't as ready as I thought. And that's why I didn't break through, you know? Even though I wanted it just the same maybe, I just wasn't ready as a performer. But now I feel so much more, like, I guess, well-rounded, that I'm just ready. I'm ready for that top spot. I'm ready to be that girl. And so I definitely feel like after Money in the Bank, I'm just going to keep that momentum going until I'm SmackDown Women's Champion. I definitely want to focus on being a singles competitor right now. I feel like just me personally in my career, I feel like that's just where I am mentally at. I want to be in the same conversation as Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, Charlotte, and Bayley. That's my goal. I've been a little bit sour on tag teams ever since the Riot Squad, and I told myself I would not be in another tag team, but if I had to team with anyone, I'd pick Toni Storm. So I'm only open to a tag team with Toni Storm. I think she's just an incredible competitor. So Liv Morgan wants to be finished with the tag team division and move on to big things in singles competition. But if she had to pick anyone, she wants it to be Toni Storm, and we did see them tag recently on SmackDown. It doesn't seem like WWE has a lot of ideas right now for Toni Storm. She did go missing for 2 months after her debut match, so it's a possibility that they put these two in a tag team if they have nothing else for them to do. Bryan Danielson is now in AEW making waves over there. But Bryan recently spoke with the Sports Illustrated Media podcast and talked about how Vince McMahon was so protective of him, that Vince would get mad if something went wrong in a match. Bryan had this to say about his 2020 match with Drew Gulak. I was wrestling Drew Gulak at Elimination Chamber right before the pandemic. I took a German suplex that went a little bit wrong and I landed on my head. When I got to the back, Vince was so mad at me and he was like, it wasn't anything about the performance. After he got mad at me, I said, was the match okay? Yeah, the match was great, but you can't do that. He doesn't want me to get hurt. You don't want your boss to get mad at you. I saw it as coming from a very loving perspective. Bryan has been talking about this a lot lately, but there was no bad blood at all with his WWE departure. He said he loves Vince McMahon. He had nothing but all the respect in the world for him. But this was just a change that he wanted to pursue. Bryan Danielson's AEW career is already off to a hot start following that match with Kenny Omega. It ended in a draw, but obviously that was for the story and for them to build hype for a proper rematch. Bryan Danielson has already gone on record and said that the night of his AEW debut was bigger to him than WrestleMania 30, which did open up some fans' eyes. WrestleMania 30 is when Bryan won the WWE World title in the main event of WrestleMania. But he's saying that the match with Kenny Omega was even bigger, given the circumstances around it. But what are your thoughts on today's stories with Undertaker, Liv Morgan, and Bryan Danielson? Leave your comments. Don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.